Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another edition of The Real Talk. I hope that your day is ending well. Thank you so much for making time to be here. Today we will be learning about mental health. We will shed more light on mental health amongst men, but I'm hoping that both men and women will get something that is useful in this conversation. We're coming to you from Mythos Boutique Hotel. It's in Kiyovu. I want you to visit them. They've got a weekday lunch buffet that I would love you to discover one of these days inside the Atmosphere restaurant, which is upstairs. Thank you for joining us. We will meet our guest in just a bit. Hello and warm welcome to The Real Talk. Use that hashtag if you wish to share with us any questions or messages. It will be a pleasure to hear from you. We are live on RTV and live on the YouTube channel. Our guest is Samuel Munderere. Samuel is the CEO and co-founder of Solid Minds. Samuel, it is a pleasure to see you.
A pleasure to have.
You know, the reason I asked that is because lately I've seen a lot of conversations around how we greet each other. We say, how are you? And we're doing so in passing. Hi, hello, how are you? And even before somebody says they're fine, you've already moved on. So we just ask for the sake of asking. And yet somebody would actually have loved to say how they really are, yes, but they will not because you seem to be in a rush anyway. So you're good?
Yes, I'm doing very well.
That's good.
Yes.
We will get to know more about Solid Minds and how you got to the point of founding the organization. But it will be nice for us to know more about you. So let's go back to your early context. If you can share a bit about your childhood, it will help us understand the journey that you've walked.
Thanks very much once again. My name is Samuel Munderere. I am a father of two, husband and a son, raised by my mom back in Uganda, where I grew up as a refugee and coming to work in Rwanda about 2 decades ago, and coming face to face with the history of this country, specifically the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi and the effects, as my work was specifically with the Survivors Fund. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am a human being. I have been at the edge of my emotional, psychological breakdown, and I was able to come back.
That's just human, you know.
I was able to come back.
Yeah,
thankfully.
I would love you to share a bit more about that. You know, when you talk about being on the edge, emotionally, you know, physically, I would love you to share a little bit about that. But we will get to it. When you went to school, so your mom is looking after you, you go to school. What were your ambitions? What did you hope to become eventually when you're grown up?
As a child who was brought up as a refugee in Uganda and being able to get an education through the support of missionaries, I was very, very lucky that I was brought up near a mission school, and so I attended school, and missionaries would come from the mission near where we lived in Bugema and come to the community to support kids in different ways, including providing educational materials, books and pens. And so that kind of work they did actually inspired me to start meditating that one time I want to work in the community and I want to be able to help vulnerable people. And so growing up in that kind of environment and looking at the struggles that my mom was going through to raise my sister and I up motivated me to study social work and development. And so, yeah, that's why, or what actually moved me to study social work, to be able to work with vulnerable people. But later on, things kept changing, as we will discuss.
Yeah, maybe we should get to later on now. So then you finished school. What was the first job that you did? And when you look back many years on, what you studied, the work that you have done, are you satisfied?
I must say that I am very satisfied with the work that I do. I am fond of Solid Minds, but I'm also CEO of the Survivors Fund, which is an international organization that supports genocide survivors, again, where I have worked for over 2 decades now. And so being able to work and support vulnerable communities, families and individuals in the community and in my work, I have found it very satisfying. And I must say that that explains why I have been stuck with this organization for over 2 decades, which is
You've not worked for any other person,
I
any
have
other organization?
no. My first work was with with Plan International in Uganda. I was working on a sponsorship project, again supporting orphans, and something that I really enjoyed. And it's another long story how I got into that job, actually, because again it was out of interest that I approached.
Share that story. I would love to hear it.
One of the field officers who was coming in my community to identify orphans and finding ways to support them. And one day it was a she came on a motorcycle, you know, the project motorcycles,
Yeah.
and they parked near our home. So I went to speak with her and I said, I like the kind of work you do. Back then I was in my first year of university, and I said, this is the kind of work I would love to do. And she listened to me and she said, oh, when you're ready, let's talk. Wow. So when I got into second year of university, this lady came around and I approached her and I said, now I need an internship. And she said, I have something for you to do, but you will have to go about 2 hours away. Oh. And I said, well, I am young, I am strong, I have a bicycle. I can ride my bike and go to that internship. And so she organized for me. I got the internship for 2 months. And after that, we kept in touch. Upon graduation, she helped me to get a part-time job with
Plan International.
With Plan International in Uganda. And it was after that assignment that I came to Rwanda.
And for the 2 months of internship, you would ride that bicycle?
Yes.
2 hours to and 2 hours fro?
Yes.
That would be 4 hours spent on the road?
Yes. I always find pleasure in cycling. I still cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it a mountain bike, these easy bikes, or was
it it was a changer. So
so that's an easy one,
I could easily move around.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
That passion, the love that you have for serving vulnerable people, I want to hear your personal story. Those moments that, you know, you've talked about it, you're human, and so you've had your challenges. Is there something that stands out for you that makes it easy for you to have this conversation with me, makes it easy for you to serve a vulnerable person, makes it easy for you to connect with a genocide survivor? Is there something in your life, something personal that you can share with us that made you the person that you are?
Yes, I would like to answer that by giving a bit of my journey.
Please do.
Probably that will help explain the reason as to why I am into the kind of work that I do.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, that I was born and raised in Uganda. I came to Rwanda in 2004 in search for work. And I was very, very lucky that I got employment with the Survivors Fund in 2004 in February. And the first 3 weeks were induction. So I was taken around communities of genocide survivors. I was introduced to local survivors organizations that the Survivors Fund works with. This includes Ibuka and Avega, to understand the challenges that survivors face, and also to understand the history of Rwanda, because it was like my first time to come now to live in Rwanda. And so I would visit memorial sites. And during these first 3 weeks, I found it emotionally challenging. I would go in a community with colleagues, and these are communities that I was supposed to be helping, but I would just break down. And so I found myself needing help, and yet I'm supposed to
You're supposed to help them.
to be giving help.
Yes.
And here I was being helped instead. And I remember going back at home at the end of the day and just going to bed and thinking about the following day, because I was dreading it. I was like, how am I going to survive now the next day emotionally? I would spend a sleepless night, but still wake up and show up because I had a job to go to. And I had, to pretend like I can do it. So after a few weeks, I was completely torn.
You couldn't continue.
I couldn't continue. So I went to my boss and said, this work is good, but I'm not doing justice to it. Because you asked me, you hired me to come and work and help to deliver the mission. And I don't think this is something that I will manage. And I resigned, went back to Uganda to my mom. And I believe as a mom who had sat with me and talked about my passion and how I wanted to work in the community, she got very concerned when I told her that I have resigned. And she could see I was going around the community talking about what actually happened in Rwanda and the magnitude of the effect of the genocide. And so one day she called me, a few days, she called me and said, Sam, come. So you had a job, you abandoned it.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what, in Kinyarwanda, she said, wakahubutsemo, which is like you abandoned it. Now what are you going to do next? She said it with love. She wasn't like really challenging me, but she was very concerned. And I didn't know what I was going to do next. So I just looked at her and I said, I don't know, but it's very difficult for me to keep up.
And Sam, this had only been 3 weeks. Like it was during the induction period.
Yeah, it was during the induction. And so she looked at me, and when I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, there are so many problems, I don't think I will handle them. And she looked at me and she said, how will you do what you have always wanted to do and what you like, and you're running away from that?
Yeah.
I was like, I took some time to process that. I still didn't have an answer at that moment, but then I reflected and she added, oh, there's nowhere you're going where there are no problems. Can you tell me where you will go and there are no problems? Yeah. And there was no such a place.
Yes.
So after 2 days of reflecting, I went back to my mother and I said, I'm going back to Rwanda. And she was like, oh, good for you. And she was very happy. I could see that I had made a decision to come back to Rwanda. Now I called my boss.
But you didn't tell her you're going back to that same job?
No, I just say I'm going back to Rwanda.
Okay.
To my job.
Oh.
Yeah, because
you had made up your mind you're going back to your job?
Yeah, I made up my mind. I said,
Okay.
I'm going back to Rwanda and I'm going back to my job. I called the office and I said, is my job still available? And the boss was so kind. And he just said, we haven't replaced you.
Yes.
That's the word she said. We haven't replaced you. You want to come back? You're welcome. So I came back, but I came back weak, same person. But I think this time it had given also my boss some time to understand a little bit the kind of person he had hired. And so when I came, he organized for me to see psychologists.
Okay.
In Rwanda, there are very few There was one Dr. Nason, God bless his heart, he passed away. He was doing so much to help individuals, to help different centers build their capacity, and to see him, it was a bit of a challenge. So my boss, again, was willing to approve for me to get help from outside Rwanda.
Wow.
So I could go to Uganda to see psychologists and Kenya to get psychological support. So that journey of me getting the help and coming back, and now my work with the genocide survivors, now a few years later in 2014, I was interviewed again by the Washington Post and the Guardian, a UK newspaper. They were doing a piece for the 20th genocide commemoration, and specifically looking at challenges victims of genocide rape, women have, and the siblings, children born as a result of the violence. And I had been working on that work through the Survivors Fund. And so when they interviewed me about that work and how we are supporting women victims of the violence, the publication came out, the New Times republished this work, and after that I got so many calls, different people calling to ask how and where to get help.
Wow.
Interestingly, some would ask, oh, I know a relative who needs help, I know someone, but they're asking for themselves, but
they don't want to show
asking,
that they're asking for themselves.
Yes, specifically 2 very courageous women came up and asked for help. And because I work in NGO settings, we work in the community, the level of privacy and confidentiality is not that much when you are working with groups. And the women were like, we need individual support, how can you help? And I didn't have a place to say, go here. There are psychiatric centers around, but people already have a misunderstanding about the kind of people who go to these psychiatric centers. And I tried to discuss with the women, and I said, no, you find how you can help. And the only solution that came up after a number of deliberations was that they would use my office after work. I'd ask one of our counselors to see them. And they would use my office after everyone has left. And that was not sustainable because people kept calling. And so
the number increased.
The number of requests increased, and my wife was working with me. She was
also at the NGO?
Yes.
Okay.
She was seeing all these requests, and some would come.
And at this point, you were still in employment. You had not
Yes.
started Solid Minds.
No, we hadn't.
Okay.
So this is with the Survivors Fund.
Oh, yes.
And so we sat, my wife was like, there are so many requests coming in. We need to help people, but how do we do it? I said, we must find a way. Otherwise, there are so many requests, and I can't tell people, go to Kenya, go to Uganda. That's why I went. So as a result of my personal experience and the work that I was doing with the Survivors Fund and the requests that were coming, we decided to set up Solid Minds as a way of creating a space where people who are in the working class, people who don't fall into the NGO criteria, or who cannot go to a church to get counseling through the church or through family support kind of, but to get professional support. So we opened Solid Minds with my wife to create that space.
Yeah. Let's go back to the 3 weeks in action. What exactly overwhelmed you? Because you're working with people who were not visibly beaten. You know, like it's several years on, and so it's not showing, but they're talking to you. What really touched you? What couldn't you bear anymore? Was it hearing the stories? Was it seeing them? Was it seeing the children of the survivors? For someone who's trying to understand what exactly made Sam leave his job after 3 weeks, what would you say to them?
I think there are a number of things. One of them is that growing up as a refugee and seeing the challenges that my mom was going through as a child, and now coming back and looking at and hearing from people the age of my mother, listening and seeing children my age back then, you know, struggling. I think there was a connection with my own upbringing, the challenges that I was seeing that were now manifesting. And it really made me sort of now taking me back to my childhood and the challenges that I could see. But at the same time, I think the other biggest challenge was like listening to the people who are like my mother's age, who are people older than me, narrating their stories to me and seeing how deprived they were. It just broke my heart. Yeah, but I believe the main thing is going back to my own childhood.
When we come back, Sam, I would ask if that makes you a weak person, you know, because sometimes people don't talk because they don't want to be called weak. So when you react like that or respond to a situation like this in that manner, does it make you a weak person? When we come back, I want you to address that. Thank you for joining us on The Real Talk. Use the hashtag The Real Talk, and you can ask Sam a question. He will respond to it. We'll be online. And also, while you're at it, you might want to find out more about Solid Minds, what they do and what kind of help they offer. As we go on with this program, we will talk about mental health and how it manifests, because as I keep saying, it's not something that will be written on your forehead that you're having mental issues, but through Sam's experience and this conversation, we hope that we will figure out how it manifests and if it is important, if and when it is important for you to seek help. Please do stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us on The Real Talk. We are at Mythos Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu. Whenever you find time, please find them here. You should also go check them out. The restaurant is upstairs. It's called Atmosphere. And on Twitter, atmosphere_KGL. Sam, you react to this situation in that manner. Does that make you a weak person? Because there is someone who is watching today, and maybe they're going through what you're going through, but they're saying, I went into the NGO world to serve the community. It means I have to take this beating. It means I have to be the strong one here. I cannot afford to walk away, yet I came to give help. So I cannot walk away saying I am in need of help. So what does that make you when you react in that manner?
Well, from what we see, we are able to be weak. If you're a man and you show your emotions, you are able to be weak, because as men, we are expected, or we are trained from childhood not to show feelings, like to man up. And there are several sayings, I believe, in Rwanda about men crying, that the tears of a man flow inside. So men, we are not supposed to show our tears, which is not something that we would encourage, because that means we have to pretend we are strong, and yet inside we are dying.
You're dying.
I believe that that's why you look around or you hear around and you hear of some catastrophes of people taking their lives, and people who had been with them didn't notice anything, because men were expected and we are encouraged to be strong, not to show emotions. And so personally in my work, at some points I was labeled as a weak person. I remember when I went to do one of my master's programs, actually, one of the people who were recommending me was discussing with a professor, and I said, he's a fantastic young man, but he easily cries. And you know, for a man, for someone to say you easily cry,
Yeah.
someone will doubt
Your capabilities. Because if someone is going to say that about a man, then they have seen you really cry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was very funny. He said, Sam, I said that.
Yeah.
So in my discussion with the professor,
Hey, is that true about you, Sam? You cry a lot?
sometimes it's very difficult to control.
Yeah. You're not somebody that hides it, because I know I cry. Oh my God, I'm a crybaby. I cry when I'm celebrating some good news. I cry when I'm watching a movie. I cry. But
Yeah,
for you, you also have those moments where you cannot hide it, you just can't.
I can.
Okay.
I know, like when we go for commemorations and my wife is not with me,
Yeah.
she will warn the people coming and say, this
You'll
is
be
the kind
seated
of
next
person
to-
you are going with.
Yes.
So they
Oh
know
my
what to
goodness.
expect.
Yeah.
And going back to this professor when we were speaking, he said, because I wanted to know what he thought about that comment.
Yes.
And he said, actually, you are a true human being.
Yeah.
It's okay to show your emotions. And that's when I was encouraged and say, it's okay to show your emotions. It's not a weakness that you cry. You know, it's a weakness if you don't actually show it and you are dying inside.
Yeah.
So I believe that as men, it's actually courage to even cry and ask for help as a man.
Yeah.
And I have found it that it is helpful because it's a way of letting out what is weighing on the inside.
Yeah.
And I believe that this mentality or understanding that if you're a man, you are not supposed to cry, you are supposed to man up, that needs to change.
Yeah.
And that as men, we need to seek out emotional help from professionals, from people we truly trust, and discuss things that are weighing on us. Otherwise, if you look at the figures that show the number of people who take their lives, it is mainly men. So, and this explains it because we don't talk about our issues. We think people are going to say we are weak if we talk about issues affecting us. And I think that's something that we need to work on as men who are looking at building strong families, strong communities. We need to acknowledge that seeking emotional help is all right, is okay.
It's not a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
In your day-to-day job, what kind of mental issues would you say men are moving around with? Because we see these men, we see some of the things they do, and sometimes these things cannot be explained because even the person that is doing them doesn't understand the source of that problem. So from your daily interactions with fellow men, what kind of issues do you see them dealing with, and where should they go for help? Who should they talk to? Because sometimes a man cannot talk to their son because this is my son. A man cannot talk to their wife because here we are. They cannot talk to their parents because the parents will judge them. Like when a man looks at the people around them, they feel like they'll be judged by everyone around them. And no man is an island. This man cannot deal with his problems alone. So what are those issues that they deal with, and where do they go to seek help?
From few people I've spoken to, some of the issues are around burnout. People working so hard, and being a man, ensuring that you provide for the family you are expected to. And so a lot of men are struggling, working really hard to support their families, to ensure their kids go to a good school, there's food, there's, ensure that they live a decent life. And so that burnout, and now the challenge of the world we are living in, where there are so many expectations from a man, by the family, by the community, And if the men are not able to meet those expectations, men become depressed. And so I would say burnout, depression, again, coming from different sources. And now in Rwanda, because of the history of Rwanda and the genocide against the Tutsi, there's a lot of depression and trauma transmitted resulting from the genocide.
We don't talk about it, but it's there.
Yeah, it's affecting lots of people, including men, because men, we are not resistant to such effects. And so those are some of the things that I see. The other issues could be medically proven challenges that probably I won't be able to talk about, but from the outside, as an advocate of mental health, I think burnout is one of the biggest things, and depression.
Yeah.
And there are different places to get help. who have professionals now. Thankfully, the government of Rwanda has for some time and continues to work very hard to put mental health support in different places, including at health centers, where the government has ensured that there are psychologists there to support. There are private key players such as Solid Minds and others. But also, I believe there are some good church priests. Priests can also help for those who are going to church, and you find that there's a priest you can trust. I was lucky that when I was going through this, while I was getting professional support, I was also staying in a house of a pastor, and so I would speak with him and get help from him. And so I think men, if we take the courage and look out for these trusted, could be church people and professionals, there is help out there.
How about a friend? Can a friend be of help? A trusted friend, we go out as boys to drink and we talk about women, we talk about money. Can we talk about our mental health? Is there a conversation that a man can have with a friend?
Yeah, there are conversations you can have, but you have to tread very carefully there, because while we speak, we may speak from an informed point of view as a non-professional. I may not be able to provide the kind of support that you need. And so, and sometimes, unfortunately, it happens that there's breach of trust, where you trust a friend with your inner self, and when you are no longer friends, things fall apart and get even worse. So I would say yes, find a trusted friend, but also pray for discernment that you know how to walk this journey with them. Because when things fall apart and you are no longer friends, it can get worse.
Okay, yeah. There's a story, when I was preparing for this conversation, I remembered a story that I saw of a man. It was in Kenya, but that could easily happen in Rwanda. It could happen anywhere. So this man was a father of two, and he was experiencing issues in his marriage. The wife had been talking to him on several occasions. Like the couple was fighting for different reasons. The man says, I am out there, I'm a bouncer, he was an escort, these people that provide security. And in most cases, he would stay out late. So the guy gets furious because the woman is saying, but you're coming late, and you know, I want us to have more time together. The guy says, I am coming late because I still need to provide for the family. I'm working so hard, you don't seem to see and appreciate. And then she brought up another issue of infidelity. So when these issues became a lot and unbearable, the woman went to her parents' home. This guy was left alone in the city for 2 days. He planned a scheme, and eventually his scheme took his wife's life and his life. He went home to that lady's home, his in-laws, found his wife in the kitchen, murdered her, and stabbed himself and poisoned. Rather, he took poison, then he stabbed himself before he could pass out completely. What do you think a man like that was going through? Because this could happen in any home today.
Yes.
Where the society has this demands on the man. And that the children also demand of the man's time. The wife demands of his time. And because he cannot find the right words to explain himself to all these people, he says, let me just go. Let me take my life. Let me take their life. Let me, and we've seen this violence, among men. The society piles this pressure on that man. Does that pressure have the capacity to breed violence in a man? And what should a man do to make sure they don't get to that point of no return? Because I believe it's something that is seen growing and growing, and we can contain it before it gets out of hand, before it claims the entire life. Because a man decides, I imagine if the children were there, maybe he could have taken the children as well. How do we avoid getting to that place?
I think there's, unfortunately, even for the case of Rwanda and in our society today, we have seen the number of divorces increase each year. The number of domestic violence going up.
Yes.
And probably awareness, I believe, about these issues and the fact that bad relationships affect our mental health and could result into very, very severe reactions, including taking one's life. I believe also that the people who take their lives actually are not like taking their lives. They're like, I want to end my suffering. I think people who take their lives, they are not like, I want to go, I want to die. No, it's like, I want to end this suffering. And probably there's a better way to end that suffering. And this we can only do, again, through raising awareness about these challenges, encouraging men to seek out help. The example you have just cited, probably the man struggled for some time without speaking what he was going through with another person, or to seek out professional help. As a man and as a security person, I guess, for the fear of being labeled weak. I
can imagine, And even when you look at him physically, because I saw image, yes, he's a well-built man.
We need to look at ways to raise awareness and encourage people to seek out help, and not just help for families, but also, I think in professions, there are some professions, if you're diagnosed with depression or any mental challenge, your work is gone. You can't continue in that profession. And so I think some of these things we need to destigmatize them and raise awareness, a lot of awareness, encourage people to seek out help. Because I think a problem, once identified and shared, there's always a better solution than one ending their own life.
The issue of drug abuse, drug and alcohol abuse. Today, when we look at young people, our young people are drinking a lot. Even in my early 20s, I would drink, but not as much as I see some of the 20-year-olds drink today. And they will say we don't have jobs, or our parents are not present. There's all sorts of reasons that people give for this. What mental health aspect is associated with such abuse?
Well, addictions have their own consequences, but I think
help me here, Sam. Does addiction cause mental health, or does mental health cause addiction?
It could be both ways.
Okay.
For example, people may go to drinking as a way of self-medication. If I have a problem at home and the only way to get sleep is to drink quite a lot, so I'll decide to self-medicate myself, go drink so I can get sleep.
Yes, yes. I know people that do that.
Yeah, they're doing self-medication.
Yes.
And then as a way of doing that, then I fall into an addiction. And now even if I'm lucky and the problem gets resolved, I have already created another problem, which is I'm into drinking. Maybe the problem or the reason I was drinking has gone away, but now I'm stuck with the drinking and I need to get out of it.
You went to look for help, but it has brought you more problems.
Yes.
Yes.
So there are, again, as I said, there are people who drink to help sort out their problems. And there are those who, as you say, who drink because maybe there is no work and they have resorted to drinking as an activity of fun or as a way of connecting with friends, and then it ends up being out of control. So it can be either way.
Yeah. When your mom, let's go back to a mention about the mothers. When your mom looked at you and wondered, my son, you've always wanted to work with the community. How can you then go there, serve for only 3 weeks and you come back? I want to know what her support meant to you and how it now helped you find help for yourself and be able to offer help. But that's for when we come back. Glad to have you with us on The Real Talk. We're taking another short break. We will be back. Thank you for being with us on The Real Talk. We are at Mythos Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu. We are live on RTV and on the YouTube channel. Please share the RTV YouTube channel link so that we have anyone who's supposed to get a message from this show get to watch the show. My name is Jackie and our guest is Samuel Munderere. Sam, so your mom talks to you and she encourages you. You pick yourself up after 2 days, go to her, and you tell her you're coming back to Rwanda. I want to know what her support meant to you. But there's also, as you respond to that, I want you to speak to this culture that we have. So I come from a community that, circumcises men. And when they do it traditionally, because now we can do it in the hospital, but back then, when it was done more traditionally than in the hospital, if a man shed a tear or even just shook a little bit, and it's happening very early in the morning with a crowd surrounding this person, then that would be a weak man. And so this whole thing of calling men weak, 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 it's such an African thing. I want you to address that culture and just share with us what we need to do to change that. Because what we're doing is not necessarily raising strong men, but we are raising pretentious men who, on a very small trigger, will break down. So please talk to me about those two issues before we can conclude the show.
Yeah, looking back at the conversation I had with my mom, I have had 2 conversations with my mom that have transformed my life, and that was one of them. I remember when she called me and we sat, I could see that she was talking up to me with love and with concern, and probably asking herself what was going to happen to this once ambitious young man who was now going down professionally.
Yeah.
And so I think that the discussion that we had that time, when I reflect, reminds me as a parent, as a father, the need to speak with the young people, with our kids, and to understand them without judging them. It could have been very easy for my mom to say, oh, I think Sam is weak, so no need to worry about him, let him do what he wishes to do. But she spoke to me with love and concern, that she wanted me actually to do something I enjoyed. and encouraging me to come back. And so as parents, I think when we try to create time to understand the young people we work with, the children we have, and how we communicate with them with love and understanding of what they're going through. And for the cultural issues, that's a challenging one because we have grown up, we still are in this culture, especially for African, where men are expected to be tough. You know, you go through the toughest of things, you are not expected to show any emotion, not even to talk about what you are going through, for the fear of being labeled weak. And I believe that that culture needs to change. For Rwanda, I am happy that the government, as I said earlier, is taking on mental health seriously, encouraging people to speak out, encouraging employers, businesses to provide emotional, psychological support to employees to ensure that, you know, people get the support they need, but also to break some of these barriers, including the cultural barriers of expecting men to be strong and not talking about any of their issues that they are going through. And I believe that, you know, once we have open conversations about this and encouraging men to normalize men asking for help, that will help a great deal.
Yeah. So there's a man who's watching and he's struggling. This person has watched the program from the beginning to the end and they have seen you talk to them directly. What message would you have for that person who is struggling? And for any other one who's just viewing for the sake of learning, whatever they can learn, if there's anything you want them to pick from this conversation, what would it be? Well,
if you're a man and you are watching us now, I'd like to assure you that you are not alone and that there is help. The end of life is not upon you if you are going through a mental health challenge. I encourage you to seek out help. There are good people to speak to, professionals, priests or pastors who are open and willing to support. And don't you ever think that it is weakness to ask for help. It is actually a sign of courage.
Wow, yeah, that's wonderful. If somebody wants to come to Solid Minds, where do they find you? And, you know, I don't know, just give them an assurance. Sometimes people don't want to do this because they think you will use their story somewhere else. Yeah. Confidentiality in this case, yeah. Where do they find you and how can you assure them of their story not being shared?
Solid Minds works in Kigali. We have our physical office in Kachiru near SOS. And I want to assure people who come to our clinic that we are highly confidential. We work with well-trained people, with professionals who have ethics and who practice a lot of confidentiality in our work. And we take this very, very seriously. If you are thinking of seeking out help, but you are worried about confidentiality, that should not stop you.
And I think that it's the case with a lot of psychiatrists. It's something that goes hand in hand with your profession, that you don't go about letting out your clients' secrets.
Yeah.
Something as we close, we are finishing the show. Is there something you wish to add to what you've said already?
I would like to encourage us and the community who look at people with mental health challenges differently to change the way we perceive them and look at them with kindness and compassion. Wow. If you see someone who is struggling, maybe they have lost it all, their behavior has gone out of control, don't judge them. Don't mock them. Look at them and treat them with kindness and love.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I have learned so much from this conversation. It's been a touching conversation, and I appreciate Samuel for making time to join us. I hope that you can find him on the different social media platforms. Samuel Munderere or Solid Minds. Go to them if you have a question, you need any form of help. They will be there to help you. For me, it's been a pleasure to bring this conversation your way. Thank you for keeping us company. And a big thank you to Mythos Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu for hosting us. We look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless you.